Well,
Oh, that
oh
was
well. We had a still picture, but anyway, people know we're here.
yeah.
I shook the screen so it looked like it was moving.
Thanks, Mike.
Makes it work.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Well, there you are. There you
There we
be.
are. Huh?
We're back. Are we on?
We're on.
We are.
Well
We're
then,
on.
hey, hello everybody.
Yes. So Derek says tonight we all take a shot whenever the eclipse is mentioned. It's going to be mentioned.
There we go.
Is
Hey
it?
there. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of astronomy outreach, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Yay!
Yay. My name is Chris Kerwin. I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. Now, I'm also very pleased to welcome back my two regular co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening.
Hello everybody.
And my other co-host, Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in beautiful St. John. Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Hey. And of course, we'd like to welcome all of you tonight on Facebook and YouTube land, and those of you who are joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you for your support. So on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, now for the first time in 50 years, Americans are back on the moon. Hey.
Yay.
Yes.
52 years, I guess, right? 1972 is the last time
Yeah, something like that.
somebody walking on the moon. Well, not boots on the ground necessarily, but a step towards the advancement of those future missions for sure. The Odysseus lander by a company known as Intuitive Machines has pads on the surface. And it is a unique mission with Canadian connection. Well, tonight we're going to discuss the mission a little bit and some hopeful parts that are coming with the mission. Of course, Bino Bub will be back again to return with another great Bino target. Paul will be sharing another interesting Rosanna's Fun fact this evening. I'm going to mention, I'm not going to really mention a few things to watch for in the sky because I think I'm going to take another path. And I'm going to talk about the eclipse a little bit. But what I want to do is I'm getting a lot of questions about the eclipse. What's it going to look like in my area? Like, I had one today. Somebody said, I'm in Halifax. Am I going to see anything at all? Now someone else said I'm in Vancouver. Am I going to see anything? So I want to let people know how to find out what the eclipse is going to look like in your particular area. So we're going to go visit one particular website, and we're going to go over a little bit of a couple of locations of how it's going to look in your particular area. And we're going to have your wonderful photo submissions, of course, to share too. And I'm going to mention a little bit about the coming contest, the contest that I have coming up for kids. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really looking forward to getting it going. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And that's all tonight. So sit back and grab yourself a favorite beverage and enjoy the show with us. And as always, if you have any questions, please post them here on YouTube and Facebook. And we'll all be watching for them. So let's get started then, guys, with a little bit of a talk about the Odysseus mission and the mission to the moon. Who wants to start?
We're right back.
It's up to you guys. First of all, I gotta say hello to my brother Danny, who watches our show every week. Hey, Dan.
Dan, how you doing?
And our new little mascot sitting back here.
Oh, you got a new one. What's his name?
Rob, yeah. Little celestial buddy back here. So
Furball.
right there, it'll stay there.
Furball.
Yeah, Furball. Okay. Nice
Good name,
Rob.
Furball.
Okay, let's get going then.
Well, I can talk a little bit just about. I was interested because I heard there was Canadian content on this lander, and I thought, okay, what's this Canadian content they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a little bit of research and looking around just because it's one of those things to say, if Canada's involved, what are we doing? And I found out that we had it's a camera that was designed and stuck on there, and it was to do a couple of different things. Unfortunately, it's not going to have the ability to do it, but it was designed to do a couple of different things. I'll just read something that I found here. It says, this is a proof of concept study to determine whether the south pole of the moon is a good place for an astronomical observatory. It says this camera will test whether images from space can be broadcast back to Earth and whether a very low horizon from the lunar and polar regions. And another experiment on board, it's the Embry-Riddle Astronomical University Eagle Cam. It's a set of 6 cameras that were designed here in Canada, was supposed to be ejected 30 seconds, before touchdown. And this thing was actually going to just sort of be ejected out, fall down to the lunar surface, and it was supposed to record the Eagle or this lander coming down and actually landing, which is the first time they would have actually filmed a lander landing from a different perspective. It's not on the lander. It was going to be filming it coming down, like me taking a shot of somebody jumping out in my yard, which I thought was pretty cool. So it did land. Unfortunately, I guess what happened, the lander tipped and it's laying sideways. And I don't think that they have any method to get it up. But the reason they didn't eject this camera on the way down was they lost the LiDAR that was on the actual lander itself, and they couldn't read the distance to the surface. And they used, what I can gather, the LiDAR on this Canadian content camera to actually get it on the ground, which is pretty cool. But there you go. That's the Canadian portion of what's on board this Odysseus lander. I thought that was a pretty cool that Canada's involved in it. Even though it's a private company in the States that put this thing up there, it's Canadian technology on board, and then they went ahead with it. And that was the part that really caught me. Is this is just this was designed to show proof of concept that we can have an observatory on the moon. Well, you get good shots of the Milky Way and good shots of planets and good shots of stars from the lunar surface because there's no atmosphere. Now, unless they can get this thing to stand up, I don't know what's going to happen with it because it's still attached to the side of the lander. I'm sure one of the cameras is pointing in the right direction, and may be able to give them some answers, but who knows down the road. I can't find any more information on since it landed, except for the fact that it landed and it's laying sideways.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven how difficult it is to land on the moon, right?
Yeah. Well, you got, I mean, when we went to the moon in the 70s and late 60s, this is people that were on board guiding it down if something went wrong. If something goes wrong now, you have nobody to sort of take over. It's just automated systems, hopefully.
Yeah, it was autonomous, I think, on this last part of the beginning, for sure, yeah.
So,
Yes, I mean, that's always a difficult part, for sure, and, and we go back to the moon again. When we go back to the moon, I guess when we go back to loop the moon, apparently, or spend some time out there at the moon, we'll have 4 humans on board at that time. Of course, one of them is a Canadian.
I can show a quick picture of what this system was actually supposedly designed to do initially. And you see here, as it was 30 meters above the lunar surface, it was to eject this camera down. It was going to fall and land on the surface, and then basically with a Wi-Fi link, video the lander actually coming down and touching the lunar surface.
Oh, cool.
But because it's whatever issues they had when it was coming down, it's still attached to the lander, so they never had a chance to eject it. You can see here again how it works. There's the lander coming, it ejects the camera, it falls down, starts taking shots of this thing actually coming down and landing. The unfortunate part is we never had the opportunity to do that, but what a cool concept. And the fact that it's the first time you would see it from a different perspective. You actually hopefully would have watched the lander land, but whatever complications they had, we never had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So, pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I'm going to share the site itself because I think a lot of people will be able to go on that and see, if I can find it there, what's what. So if you go to the site, and let me see if I can get back to it. Yeah, so this is the site. So if you look up www.intuitivemachines.com/IM1, the IM1 is the mission. That's mission 1. There's actually 2 other missions that they're going to have. See if I can get that to click on. There we go. That they're going to have. So each of these 3 missions are all looking for different things. So you can go online and look to see, what is it that they're sending these for, and what is the data that they're actually trying to capture. And so there's quite a variety of things that are up there. On the first one, as Mike was saying, it never kind of got to where it's supposed to, but it did collect some data. And even though some of the equipment that was supposed to be aimed towards the Earth to send the detail and information down, it never made it. There still is some that did. So we did get some data from it. There is some usable data on this particular mission, but it's not going to survive forever. So they do have another one that's supposed to be going up again the end of this year, or close to the end of this year, and another one again that was going to be right at the end of the year, but now it's going to be into 2025. But those are the three that are going up, and they're all from the same company. Now they had quoted and started that I think was $77 million to do this with these three, and now I think when they get it all said and done with the changes made and all the things that typically happen during discovery is I think it's 122 million is what it's actually at now. So it's a pretty in space terms, it's probably not a lot of money, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah, more money than I got.
Yeah, but it's cool that this is a private company that's actually doing this, and apparently SpaceX is looking at some further missions that it's going to do a little further down the road. Not these ones, but there's other ones that is going to be taking place, are doing rather in conjunction with NASA as well, relating to some of this moon stuff.
Well, it's just fascinating to be back on the moon. I think, it's a great idea. It's time. We've been 52 years in low Earth orbit, basically, and it's time to get back there. So this is a great start. No matter how the first mission went, I mean, still, wasn't successful. That it, like Mike said, it didn't stand upright, but still, what they've got planned here seems to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's if you go on the site, there's some really cool stuff. So you can go, if you go right down to the more category, that'll take you to the various missions. But there's news and there's contacts, there's galleries. So if you want to see some data, there's a whole thing just on the IM-1 itself, which is the one that's up there currently now. So there's updates, and they talk about the Lunar Surface Day 1 update when they were totally full of what's the word, hope, and how it was going. And then as they go on to landing time update 2, 3, to the point that they had to start rerouting and doing different things. So they keep it up to date on all of it. So if you want to see how that whole thing started, where it, when it took off, and all the trials and tribulations that it went through to even get onto the moon this time, it's all kind of right in there on that website. So it's a really, really cool site, and lots of fun to go around for sure.
The one thing I did find is, and there's a lot of people asking questions like, where's the first pictures off of this thing? Or where's the first bit of information off of that thing? And it is a private company that set it up there, and they are keeping their information proprietary until they want to release whatever it is that they're going to release, and nothing more. So everybody's waiting to see, this thing, the Canadian con had 6 cameras on it. One of those cameras has an image, obviously, in some direction somewhere. And, people are waiting, going, well, where's these images? Well, there's nothing yet, because it's a private company. They want to take care of everything first, make sure they get their ducks in a row before they publish anything out there to the general public.
Yeah. But it's under NASA's guide, right? So would that not be, if NASA was supplying the funds for it, would they not be the ones that have the rights to the images?
I'm not sure. That's again, where it's a private company that set it up there. Maybe they, they'll let NASA know when they can take their stuff and put it out there. So
yeah, they're the ones that are going to be supplying the data. So
right.
Until that data is ready to actually go into their hands, it's up to them how they go about it, I guess.
And there's a lot of innovative stuff on this system that's up there. Like it was the first time that Wi-Fi was going to be used, on the lunar surface. Yeah. This camera that was going to be ejected was going to go down, and it was going to be Wi-Fi to the lander, and then the lander sent a signal back to Earth. So, a lot of firsts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, as we're talking about it here, if you folks have any comments on it, like what do you think of the mission so far, and where should we be now? I mean, just comment away here on the questions. So I'm watching questions on both YouTube and Facebook. So
apparently the aliens tipped it over, and they don't want to show the footage.
Mark also, we should have put a Canadarm on it. Yeah, maybe we should have. Just a little tiny one, but enough really to pick it up. So.
Yeah, a little dash cam or something. Oh, I think they have lots of them on it.
There's my GoPro.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, we're all excited about going back to me. I can't wait to see boots on the ground again on the moon.
Yeah.
We're still another year at least away, I guess, before the Artemis 2 mission. They keep seeming to be pushing it farther and farther out. I'm not sure exactly why. I mean, they've already run around once with the Artemis 1 mission, and it was, as far as I know, was a success. Like, they had good luck with it.
Yeah,
brought back to capsule. I mean, and I know they have to be cautious to put 4 people on board. Of course, one of them is going to be Canadian, Jeremy Hansen.
yeah,
And from what I'm hearing, every mission from now on, any Artemis group is supposed to have at least one Canadian on board
yeah,
seats. So, which is great. I mean, so if there are people out there who are, young kids, when I go to schools now and talk to kids about space and what they want to hear a lot about this. I mentioned the fact that, one of them is going to be Canadian and one of them could be, I could be looking at an astronaut that's going to be walking on the moon, right?
yeah.
So,
They're saying that these missions that they're doing now, the one that just landed and the other ones that are going up there, eventually the moon itself will be a segue out into deep space, because what they're saying is, and this is part of the data that they're looking for on this mission, is how can they set something up there on a permanent basis so that basically Earth will supply this, let's just call it base, if you want to call it that, of what's going to of missions that will be going off to other places. So it's going to be like a launch pad from up in that area, because of course there's no atmosphere, there's none of that stuff. So if we can get something up in that atmosphere, I guess it's easier to get stuff on and off of it. Because what we do here is look what we got to go through just to get something out of it, out of our atmosphere, and then back in. But if you've got a platform where you don't have any atmosphere, then off it goes, right?
yeah. They talked a lot about the Lunar Gateway, right? So that was another part of the picture there, that they're going to build a space station orbiting the moon. And
Yeah.
you'll fly from Earth to the space station, spend some time on that, and then down with the lander to the surface. And we're not going back to the moon for 3 or 4 days. We're going to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what they were saying. Like when I was reading in this particular program, that's exactly what they're talking about. That's the vision they have for the programs that they're designing, is the fact that there's going to be people there all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah,
One of the key things they're looking for, and why they're at the South Pole, is for water ice. Because no sense putting a base there if there's no water there. They're saying the water means everything to them. So if you're going to have a permanent base, it's, you got to have the water there, or be able to get the water that is there, as opposed to trying to ship water up there. How's that?
Yeah, and I think one of the focuses on this mission really was to find out whether or not they could communicate back with Earth on the South Pole too, right?
Yeah.
Because, that was another challenge with this mission, was how communication was going to work between the moon, South Pole, and Earth.
yeah,
Going to end up, living basically, eventually, because there are craters at the bottom of the South Pole of the moon that have never seen sunlight. And we know that there is water in those craters, ice. The Alcross mission that launched a probe, or that dropped a bomb, I'll say, into one of the craters, and then Alcross flew through the plume,
Right.
and knew it was water ice, right?
Yeah.
But that's what kind of drove us to the South Pole in the first place. But yeah, I mean, we need water, obviously, for our purpose as humans, but also to produce rocket fuel, right, to get us off into the other locations. Water's really heavy, and I was talking to kids about that the other day in a classroom talk, saying about the space station and how we don't really take water to the space station. The water that's up there is the water that we took up long ago, and it just gets recycled. So when you sweat, that water gets captured, and like today's coffee is tomorrow's coffee. That's the
Right.
same. Ew, I'm not going there.
yeah,
But I mean, that's a big one, is the water. But water is, we're finding water everywhere we look in the universe, right? So it's lots of moons. It's out there in space. It's it's everywhere. So it's one of the key components for sure for the mission. But I can see that this is going to be really interesting to follow this these IM missions as we lead our way into Artemis, right? I think.
yeah. It's just cool that back in the late '60s we were just trying to get to the moon. Now we're trying to survive or set up on the moon so we can get to other places.
Yeah,
So
figure out how to stay there.
the moon was the target then, but now the moon is just a leapboard to other targets.
Well, it takes you back to what Elon Musk says too, like for putting humans on Mars. I mean, it's a simple fact of having humans on two worlds. Like if there is an asteroid, a civilization killing asteroid out there, and it happened to collide with Earth, humanity could start over again, right? If you're on two worlds versus just one.
Yeah.
That's the kind of vision that he had to get us on Mars by 2030. I don't think we'll be on Mars by 2030.
Well, they've already proved you can grow potatoes up there.
Yeah, well, they grow salad up there. They have a salad up there. Yeah, oh, no, oh, that one, yeah, that's right.
Leonard was up there.
Yeah, he did, he drew them, for sure.
Oh my. But anyway, yeah, the whole idea of that is so close now
Mm.
compared to what it was, what, 70 years ago? Is it 70 years ago? Is that how
It's
long?
50, 52.
50 years ago.
1972 was the last time we walked somebody on the
Yeah,
sun.
but we've been going to space long before then.
Yeah, we've been going since we've been on the moon since 1969, so
Yeah, but not the moon though. I'm talking about just
63,
yeah.
Well,
When did
Sputnik
when
went
did
up in '50s, didn't it?
when did Sputnik go up?
1957, was it? No,
Yeah,
much
56
later
or
than that.
57, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So like I said, this is not new territory,
Hmm.
but it's certainly advanced territory. Compared to well, like even 50 years ago.
Yeah, Mark says at least 4 years before the lunar gateway. Yeah, so I would say that you're going to be, 4 years away from construction or 4 years from completion. I would say you're probably looking at 8 years, yeah, for
Saying
completion.
that on the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side of the coin, you also look at who else is going up there. There are other countries are sending stuff up there. And unfortunately, the Americans are going to say, yeah, we better get something up there too. And then who's going to rule it when it is up there?
Well, that's the space race again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're back into a space race again. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. But it's
Yeah.
good. I mean, if it gets us out there, that's what counts.
Well, that's it. We're getting out there and we're starting to see and learn and discover. I mean, just even the telescopes we sent out all over the universe.
Yeah.
The stuff that we're finding in the data now with the James Webb, we're seeing things that we didn't know anything about. So it's like every year, 2 or 3, there's these major breakthroughs now.
Yeah.
Just
You can see life on the moon being, for kids today in schools, they're 1957. October.
57. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. So yeah, if you're talking about, the lunar missions later on, kids today will be watching on YouTube. Basically, you'll have a
Yeah.
24-hour feed coming from live on YouTube, like we do from the space station.
You know what though? I wonder how much interest they would have. You know how when after we went to the moon so many times, then all of a sudden these transmissions coming from the astronauts were almost like, well, we've kind of been there, done it.
Oh yeah, that happened by Apollo 13.
It's just going to be everyday stuff, right? To a
Yeah.
degree. But once we start doing the stuff on the moon, yeah, is that going to be the same, I wonder? Until there's another major breakthrough, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it will. I think it'll be a novelty for a long time. The kids who do want to go to the moon.
I always wonder how many Starlink satellites Elon Musk is going to put around the moon so they can have internet up there.
Brad Perry says, have you guys heard about the artist that just sent a sculpture to the moon a few days ago? Wondering your thoughts on us leaving stuff on the moon in general. Well, I know that we've left about 300 pounds of feces on the moon. Say that, they're actually thinking that if they find life on the moon, it could be in the bacteria from
Right,
the
from
feces
us.
that was left behind.
Same with Mars.
These little tiny creatures called tardigrades, right, that live on the outside of the space station, and there could be tardigrades on the moon right now, and that might be the life on the moon that we put there.
Right.
We left feces there. Even when you look at the sites where the Apollo landers landed, you can see the stuff just kind of thrown, like who
Well,
cares?
there's junk, yeah.
And they left off their backpacks. The blessed backpacks were off. They left them behind, and yeah, a couple of 100 pounds of feces left behind on the moon. So to pollute the moon, do we have the right to be able to do that again, as we did here? Well, but I haven't heard too much about the sculpture going to the moon. That's kind of interesting, Brett. I'll have to look that up.
It's no different than putting a car in space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tesla up there floating around somewhere.
Yeah. Well, he did that. I think,
Pieces of it.
he did that for weight, right? He did it for publicity, I'm sure, but it was
Yeah.
the weight in the rocket. They used to use a slab of concrete, apparently.
And now there's over 30,000 pieces of space junk orbiting the Earth they don't know how to get rid of. So, yeah, why not? We can pollute the moon.
Yeah, that's just going to be some of the, what do you call it? Some of the fall off of technology. Because, there's just going to be times where you just can't destroy or get rid of or bring back some of this stuff. So it's going to have to remain where you left it. And maybe down the road, maybe it's possible that they'll be able to recycle some of the stuff if they do get up there for any length of time. Then they go around and gather these things up and maybe bring them back in and do something with them, right? Like, who knows?
I was just watching something today that there's a satellite company that's building a recyclable satellite made of wood. So it's biodegradable and it would completely burn up in the atmosphere if it came in because it's made of wood.
Well, you know what? It sounds like it would.
Yeah. I say would not if there was a nut in it.
You're going to be a branch manager, I can tell.
Are we flying this segment yet? I hope so.
Oh, beehive.
Mark says it will be interesting to see if the Outer Space Treaty is still working in another decade or so. That's true, Mark.
Yeah.
Especially with MEPAC. Like, you want to make sure that it doesn't apply to that. Right, guys? MEPAC?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Let me pack my stuff and go.
Yeah. You have to keep mineral rights for that one, or?
That's ours, yeah.
Yeah, that's us. Us in space.
Anyway, these are so whatever you want to take it, these are interesting times for kids to learn about space.
Oh, yeah.
Be excited about space again. For me, I could just be a kid inside again because I'm thinking about it. Here comes exploration.
Yeah. But you know what's really cool is that it's not just the majors anymore. It's not just NASA and the majors. Now there's all these private companies that are starting to get involved with this, which means more opportunity for people to get involved in a space program of some sort.
Right. And
whether it be manufacturing, designing, going up there yourself, whatever the case, it's just going to leave a lot of opportunity, I think, for.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, these private companies are in to make money too. So they're not, they're not NASA. NASA's not in to make money. They're a government agency and
Right.
for exploring. But for NASA to subcontract all that or to pass that part off now to say, you transport us to this place, well, we concentrate on something different, like James Webb. So which is great too, because now you do have these private-public partnerships that are working, and actually they're separated in some areas too, where money is being looked at. There's big money to be made in space exploration, I think, and even in space tourism too. There's a new high altitude balloon going up very soon. I think it's in October.
Yeah.
And you fly for 2 hours, or you're attached to a high altitude balloon, and you go up. You travel up for 2 hours, and then you travel back down for 2 hours.
You pray they don't burst your bubble.
$100,000 per mission or something like that, and they're already booked 4 years ahead.
So how far up is it going? Do you know?
It's 100 kilometers. I think it's 100 kilometers. So you are technically an astronaut at Carmen.
And you're inside a balloon?
No, you're inside a
Gondola that's being pulled up by a balloon.
gondola. Or
Oh, okay.
around a capsule.
Similar to what we're doing during the eclipse, only it's people inside it instead of just cameras.
Yeah. Instead of a camera, it's people.
It's a leisurely 2 hour ride up, and then you're up there for a little bit, and then 2 hour ride back down again. So
Not necessarily the same place.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Kim says, "What's in that coffee? Whose coffee?" This one. Today's coffee's tomorrow's coffee, like we said earlier. Okay. Look, we'll leave that topic alone, but I think it's an exciting time for space exploration. I think we're all going to be paying attention very closely to it. I'm speaking to kids a lot about it. Keep an eye out because there's a lot of things happening with space exploration coming up very soon.
Yeah.
There
might be something you might want to get the kids to kind of chime in on is, what's going on in space now that interests you, and is there a certain, like these missions that we're just talking about now, maybe you can draw your interpretation of what that spaceship is and send it in, and it'd be interesting to see what they come up with because they're the ones that we see all the time. The talent is so amazing with these kids. It would be interesting to see their drawings of these missions, like instead of the planets, the actual rockets and
what would a moon base look like?
what would a moon? There you go. They're a great idea.
Yeah. We'll have another contest on that, maybe.
There you go.
There. All right. That's a great topic, and I think that's one for future talks as well, because we will be getting into more information about these missions as they progress. So wishing them luck really for how things move ahead on this for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Vinyl Bud then maybe next. How would that be?
Bud. Let's share. Where's screen one? There we are. All righty. Binocular target of the week. This week by Bino Bud is, and Kurt talked about it last week. Are you ready for this? The beehive cluster. Oh, beehive.
Beehive. All beehive.
You look so happy.
I am. I'm just
Bees, yeah.
Obviously, you haven't been stung yet.
to the moon and back. So Messier 44 or M44, also known as the Beehive Cluster. It's an open star cluster in the constellation Cancer. It's bright. It's a large cluster, an apparent magnitude of 3.7, and lies a distance of 577 light years from the Earth. M44 is one of the nearest open clusters to the Earth and can easily be seen with binoculars or without binoculars. With or without binoculars, how's that? But it's an apparent blurry patch of light to the naked eye. The cluster is best seen in binoculars or small telescopes because it is big. So how do I find it in the sky? Well, look at my fancy numbers coming up here on the right-hand side. If you went out and oriented yourself tonight when it's dark and clear at 10 o'clock at 165 degrees south-southeast and looked up, you're going to see Castor and Pollux in Gemini. And of course, Leo starting to rise. You see the bright star of Regulus. Just draw a line down between the two and about halfway, trust me, in binoculars, you're going to come across M44 right there in the center of Cancer. It's real easy. You'll notice it. What's it going to look like? Well, it won't kind of look like this because it's a nice photograph of it, but boy, it's a busy spot in space. There is a lot of stars in that cluster. It's a big group, very easy to see, and actually a nice target in binoculars. 10 by 50s, something like this without all the labeling on it is what you're going to see. I forgot to take the labeling off. Sorry about that. But it's an easy cluster to find. It's big, it's huge, and it's very bright. Connected to the full moon, it's got to be at least 2 full moons in diameter. So it's a good size, easy to see. You get a chance, and we finally got a clear night. The moon's not going to wash it out. Go on out there, throw your binoculars up, see if you can find M44. Why does lightning shock people, Paul? Because it doesn't know how to conduct itself. Oh, yeah. And that's binocular target of the week by Bino Bud.
Yeah.
They don't get any better, do they?
No, they're getting much worse, actually. Yeah.
I'm working on it, yeah.
Stick around, folks, it gets worse.
It's getting harder and harder to find, I can tell you that.
All right,
Right.
they're hilarious.
Okay, let's take a sec. I'm gonna, before we get to Rosanna, I want to take a quick second and point out something that people are asking me a lot about, and it's the eclipse. And there, supposed to take a drink. Yep. Okay. Every time eclipse is mentioned, and the question is that people ask me about, like, what's the view going to be like?
Oh, sorry.
Chris's fun fact.
Anyway, so what I might try to do is, if it's okay with Paul, I might try to share my screen here.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Thanks, Paul.
Am I still sharing?
No.
Let's have a look here. We're on screen number 4. This one. Okay. So, if you are wondering about what the eclipse is going to look like in your area, go to this page here, timeanddate.com. And it's a very popular page. I visit it all the time because I want to know what phase the moon is and what the sunrise, sunset's going to be, moonrise, moonset, that kind of thing. So if I go down the page just a little bit, I'll find sun, moon, and space. And here I've got sunrise, sunsets, moon phases, moonrises and moonsets, eclipses worldwide. But I want to just click on moonrise and moonset first because that takes me to a better page. And I'm going to look up my city of St. John. So all I have to do is just type it up in the top right-hand corner. And there's my current moon phase, 98.1%. It's a waning gibbous moon. It tells me the time that the moon is going to be, what time the moon rose and sets. But then if I go down here a little bit, right here on the right, I'll see the link called eclipses. And if I click on that, it'll show me the next eclipse is going to happen actually on March the 25th at 4:12 a.m., which is a penumbral eclipse, which means that the moon doesn't pass completely into our shadow, it passes into the penumbra, which is the less dark part of our shadow as we cast back into space. And so I can scroll down the page a little bit. Here's March 24th, 5th, so I click on that. and it'll show me the actual view of the eclipse, and it'll actually give me the times up here in the corner. And below that, it tells me when the parts are happening, the penumbral eclipse begins, when it's at its maximum, and when it ends. So if I watch that video, it's actually sped up 500 times here, you can see that the moon doesn't quite pass into the dark part of our shadow, the umbra down here, but it actually passes into what's called the penumbra. Now, it's very difficult when it's a bright moon to see that subtle change in brightness, but there is a subtle change there. And it does walk you right through the whole procedure. If I want to go to a large screen, I can see it, you know, big screen like that. But anyway, if I go back out again, that's the penumbral eclipse. Okay, then I can actually go down the page a little bit, and I'll see when the next number of eclipses are going to happen in my area. So here's the April 8th, 2024. So of course, this is March 25th, so that's 2 weeks. That's a full moon, and our eclipse happens during a new moon, so they're 2 weeks apart. And there's always a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse that are 2 weeks apart. It's either before or after each other. So if I click on this one, April 8th, 2024, there we are. There's the maximum view in St. John, New Brunswick. It's going to be, this begins at April 8th at 3:24 p.m. Now remember, we have a time change happening too before that, so there's the daylight savings time to get back again. And the maximum is going to be happening at 4:35, and it's going to be 98.1% obscured by the moon. And it's going to end at 5:42. But you can see here, there's nothing that says anything about totality. It does say the duration, though, 2 hours and 18 minutes. So if I scroll down here and I want to look at what's going to happen, how it's going to look to me, I can watch here the same method. It does give me the information below that again. The partial eclipse begins, the maximum eclipse, the direction that's going to be happening in, the height of the moon at the time and the sun at the time. So here we are in St. John. Just don't get the whole thing, almost all of it, but not 100%. So there's your view, and it'll scroll through it a couple of times if you want. That's our view from St. John. Let's take a look at what it's going to look like in Fredericton. So we'll just put it in here, because now you're into the zone of totality. And you want to go, where are we going to go here? Eclipse is here. Fredericton. So here's the Fredericton view. April 8th, same view, same time, and we'll see what it looks like from there. So moon's approaching. And you'll see the subtle difference that that extra couple of percent makes. There you go. Full eclipse starts, so then it shows you the full eclipse and then the maximum eclipse, and then back again for the other hour it takes for it to disappear. So here, though, you'll see the total eclipse starts at 3:23. Maximum is at 4:34, and the duration of 2 hours and 18 minutes. But it also shows totality, 2 minutes and 17 seconds. So that's your totality that you'll experience in Fredericton. Here's your countdown clock down here. If I click on this map, though, I can zoom in a little bit on the map, and there's the territory or the area that's going to be covered with the eclipse. So if you want to know whether or not you fit in that zone, search your city out, see if you've got 100% obscuration, and it's this zone that is going to be the most affected right here. So even in Halifax, you will get a view, but it'll be a partial view. So that's the easiest way to find out what it's going to look like in your area. And there's this, of course, all the way down through into Texas and right out into the Pacific Ocean. So hopefully that'll help some people to find out what it's going to look like in their particular area. There you can see Fredericton is inside the zone. And actually Oromocto, I think, is where you have to go to. And you can see the Moncton is not in the zone, but Shediac is. So you only have a very short drive to get to Shediac to be inside that eclipse area, the totality area. And if you have the opportunity, like if you're in St. John, I love St. John, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be in St. John for a total eclipse. I'm going to be in the path of totality. So it's only an hour away. There are people traveling from all over the world to see this event. So you want to try to go to the path of totality if you could possibly get there. Of course, the day before, take a look at the weather forecast. If I click on St. John, for instance, I can see that not only can I see the information about it, but I can also see that the average cloud cover has been 73% since the year 2000. So on that day, April 8th, since the year 2000, it's been cloudy 73% of the time. But it's been clear 27% of the time. And there are more recent maps that are actually, there are more detailed maps that are coming out now, put up by NOAA and a few other organizations that are suggesting that it could be anywhere between 40 and 55% in the zone of totality for April 8th. And as we get closer to the date, that number is going to become a lot more accurate. They're going to be, you're going to see a lot more forecasts for that particular time. So it does look like we might have a good opportunity. It is April, you know, we could have a snowstorm. It's not August, so or September, so the weather is a lot more. It's a lot more chancy that we're not going to have clear sky. But all we can do is cross our fingers. We can't control any of this part of it. But anyway, check your forecast out the night before and see if there's a patch. Like if you're planning on going to Fredericton, you say that's great, but you know maybe it's going to be Oromocto that's clear, and not Fredericton. So look at your satellite view, check a program called Astrospheric. That's a good one to take a look at. Another one's called windy.com. Check that out and look at your local forecasts for that particular time of day and see what is predicted. So I do that the night before and of course the next morning as well to see if you can find a spot that there's even a sucker hole, a small spot that'll give you at least a view of the eclipse or part of the eclipse throughout that whole experience. Because this is, I mean, the last time it's passed over this part of the province was in the year 932. So I don't expect we're going to be around to see it again. I won't be anyway. You guys might be, but and then anyway, from that map, that gives you nice information. But then you can also scroll down farther here, and you can see if I want to see the next 5 eclipses. Okay, here's the next 5. I want to point out this one though, because if we miss this one, that's an annular eclipse actually. Where are we at now? Hang on, we're still in Fredericton. No, let's go back to St. John. Back to St. John, we'll take a peek again and go down to the next 5. And we see there's one October the 2nd of 2024. Why is it bringing that one up? That's an annular eclipse. That's not us though.
Yeah,
That's
there's no total ones there.
That's worldwide. That's not us. We're going to be to North America. There we go. So April 8th, and then October the 2nd is parts of North America, but not us. But we want to look at March the 29th of 2025. Let's go this way. I can go down this way. 2020. Scroll down here to 2020 to 2029. It's actually this one I want to look at, March 29th, 2025. So here's another one that is going to affect us next year. So if I take a look here, we're going to see that New Brunswick is actually going to be included, well, actually Nova Scotia as well. For parts, let's go to St. John here. We'll click on St. John. There's our view from St. John on March 29th of 2025. So if we don't get a clear view this year, watch this one though. This is kind of unique. I'm going to show you this because you're going to watch the activity happening at sunrise. So here's the crescent sun rising, and the moon has already eclipsed it, and you'll get to see the final part of the eclipse. So as the sun rises, it'll be a crescent shape in the sky. So that's a pretty special event as well, and to watch an eclipsed sun, or crescent sun rising. So yeah, should be pretty neat. So anyway, check out this page, timeanddate.com. Go in there, take a look at your location. All you got to do is type your location up here in the corner. It's also good for sunrise, sunset times, moonset times, your moon phases. There's some information about the night sky as far as what planets are up, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of information. It's a really well done page. It's kept up to date very regularly, and it's factual, and there's lots of information in there. So take a look at timeanddate.com for information on the eclipse. Hope that helps people.
There you go.
Okay. Jeff says, how advantageous would it be to position yourself at the exact center of totality as compared to the periphery on either side? I don't know if there's much of a difference.
I think it's seconds. The
Is it
difference
seconds?
between Florenceville and Perth Andover was less than 2 seconds difference.
Okay.
So it'd be the same distance, Perth Andover towards Fredericton, that distance. give or take. It was only a couple of seconds difference.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. You keep your glasses handy for future eclipses. That's the thing, Kim. That's right. Anybody who is buying eclipse glasses, as long as you set them away in a safe location, you can use them every day. Today, there's a huge sunspot. We're going to look at it a little bit later, but there's a huge sunspot right now, and it's available just with eclipse glasses. So if you want to take a look at, you don't have to save them just for the eclipse. You can use them to look at the sun at any time. So anyway, okay, I'm going to get off that topic because Paul, you've got to carry on with Rosanna's fun fact.
All right, we're going to try it. And this is this week's.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Well, hello and welcome back, Rosanna, for another absolutely fun fact all the way from Applehock, New Brunswick. So we are so pleased to have another fun fact to present to you. So let's get right into it. So Rosanna writes, hi Paul, February is finally drawing to a close. Even if it does have one extra day this year, apparently someone who was born on February 29th is called a leapling. Traditionally in Ireland, February 29th is Bachelor's Day, where women were allowed and encouraged, sec here and I'll get my pictures up and running here. Were allowed and encouraged to propose to men. I've got 3 wives already. To the world. Divorce for wife beating. A ticket of leave, man. Anyway, wow. That's a pretty funny cartoon. So if the guy refused, he had to pay a recompense in the form of money, a new dress, gloves, etc. The custom at one time even had legal basis in Ireland and Scotland. Since this leap year contains a solar eclipse for us, I thought I would check on how many eclipses have ever taken place on bissextile day. Yes, that is the term for February 29th, meaning the second sixth day or double sixth day. Starting at the first recorded solar eclipse on February 29th at 0356 BCE, the instance of the greatest eclipse takes place back on that date that we just talked about there. So that was the very first eclipse going back to as far as we can recollect. This particular leap year was also special in that 2 weeks earlier on February the 14th, it was preceded by a penumbral lunar eclipse. Of course, Valentine's Day hadn't been invented yet. In case any of our viewers noticed, the TD time given, what is TD time? The time that Toronto Bank opens? TD stands for Terrestrial Dynamic Time, and which is called TD time. The modern astronomical time standard defined by the International Astronomical Union, used for time measurements of astronomical observations made from the surface of Earth. Terrestrial dynamical time is a uniform time scale free of irregularities of mean solar time, also known as terrestrial time, TT, and astronomical almanac uses TT for its tables of positions, emphirides of the sun and moon and planets, and as seen on Earth. The next February 29th eclipse we come across is a partial solar eclipse on February 29th, 128, visible in South America and Africa. It takes only 76 years before we have the next solar eclipse on this date, namely in 184. This again, a partial solar eclipse. The eclipse of 184 was visible in Europe, Eurasia, and North Africa. On February 29th, 648, there was an annular eclipse in the Antarctic off the coast of Australia. It may have looked a bit like this, like the one that you're viewing now. Now this photo is a photo of a total solar eclipse December the 4th, 2021, because of course, there were no cameras in 648. Fast forward to the year 1188 and voila, another solar eclipse on February the 29th. This eclipse was an annular eclipse visible in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and Hawaii. But we will never have to wait until but we will never have to wait until 1228 years before there is another solar eclipse on precisely February 29th, namely in 2416. February 29th, 2872 will be the last solar eclipse on February 29th before the year 3000. The weird thing about focusing on February 29th is that the next year, on April the 8th, 2025, we will be able to remember where we were watching the solar eclipse of April the 8th, 2024, fingers crossed, of course, but there is no year ago for any day numbered February 29th. It totally disappears, only to resurface every 4 years. Now, the best story of an eclipse on February 29th has to be Christopher Columbus's. It wasn't a solar eclipse, it was a lunar eclipse, but it saved his life. And actually, the true honor of coming to the Admiral's rescue was Johannes Müller von Königsberg in 1436 to 1476. You guys didn't live long then. Known by his Latin pseudonym Regiomontanus. Now, he was a highly regarded German mathematician, astronomer, and astrologer. Before his death, Regiomontanus published an almanac containing astronomical tables covering the years 1475 through 1506. Thanks to an epidemic of shipworms eating holes in the planking of his fleet, Columbus was forced to abandon 2 of his ships and finally had to beach his last 2 caravels on the north coast of an island known as Jamaica on June 25th, 1503. At first, everyone got along famously, but eventually Columbus and his crew wore out their welcome with natives on the island. So Columbus had a copy of Regiomontanus's almanac with him. He soon discovered from studying its tables that on the evening of Thursday, February 29th, 1504, a total lunar eclipse would occur, beginning around the time of moonrise. Armed with this knowledge, 3 days before the eclipse, Columbus requested a meeting with the Arawak chief and informed him that his Christian God was very angry with his people for no longer supplying him and his men with food. Therefore, he was about to provide a clear sign of his displeasure. 3 nights hence, he would all but obliterate the rising full moon, making it appear inflamed with wrath, which would signify the evils that would soon be inflicted upon them all. You might call it a bad moon rising. On that appointed evening, as the sun set in the west and the moon started emerging from beyond the eastern horizon, it was plainly obvious to all that something was terribly wrong. By the time the moon appeared in full view, a small but noticeable dark scallop had been removed from its lower wedge. And just over an hour later, as the evening twilight had ended, the full darkness descended. The moon indeed exhibited an eerily inflamed and bloody appearance. In place of the normally brilliant late winter full moon, now there hung a dim red ball in the eastern sky. According to Columbus's son, Ferdinand, the Arawaks were terrified at this sight and, with great howling and lamentation, came running from every direction to the ships laden with provisions and beseeching the admiral to intercede with his God on their behalf. They promised that they would happily cooperate with Columbus and his men if only he would restore the moon back to its normal self. The explorer told the natives that he would have to retire to confer privately with his God. He then shut himself in the cabin for about 50 minutes. While in his quarters, Columbus turned an hourglass every half hour to time the various stages of the eclipse based on the calculations provided by Regiomontanus's almanac. Just moments before the end of the total phase, Columbus reappeared, announcing to the Arawaks that his God had pardoned them and would now allow the moon to gradually return. And at that moment, true to Columbus's word, the moon slowly began to reappear. And as it emerged from Earth's shadow, the grateful Arawaks hurried away. They then kept Columbus and his men well supplied and well fed until a relief caravel from Hispaniola arrived on June the 29th, 1504. Columbus and his men returned to Spain on November the 7th. So the moral of the story, make astronomy your hobby. It may save your life. And that is this week's
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Now that was a story, wasn't it?
That's different.
That's awesome.
That
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Rosanna. That was probably the funnest fun fact I think I've read.
For anybody who could predict that stuff, the solar and lunar eclipses, they must have been just gods.
But just think about how we got the information.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just unbelievable. But he was smart enough to figure out what he had to do,
Yep.
and he pulled off the biggest caper of all time, of that time.
Awesome.
That's
Thanks,
fantastic.
Amanda. That was fantastic. That's good.
I love it.
It would probably still work today.
That's right, because I heard it from the Inquirer.
There you go. Okay, let's wrap up with some photos then. I'm gonna get some up here in a second. We're gonna be, let me get this.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, and I'm gonna share the screen. That's a probably good spot to do. Let's go over here.
I wonder if CCR knows that story.
Okay, we got a few photos here to share this evening. Let me get my notes up here. It should be this one here. Okay, so we got this one first of all from Chris Benoit. Chris says, "Hi Chris, the moon shot taken on February 21st. Celestron refractor, 80 millimeter refractor. Nice shot.
Oh,
Very nice.
DSLR camera attached. Yeah, well done
Nice and sharp.
for 80
yes.
millimeter.
Well
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, it looks good.
it's a detail. Thanks, Chris. I'm going to go from there to David Hoskins' picture. Captured this image earlier, he said, with my Dwarf 2 smart telescope. There you go.
Sir.
Hey, Moon.
Pretty nice. Pretty moon.
Nice detail there too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, even for a daytime shot, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Another one, David Hoskins. This one here, this is kind of neat because I like this one. I want to talk about this a little bit. This is the Comet 12P Pons Brooks passing through Lacerda on the 21st of February. Imaged with the Dwarf 2. So now, of course, this is the one, the 12 Pons Brooks, which might be the one that appears in our sky during the total solar eclipse. So we will have the planet Venus and Jupiter both out. Of course, it's the Sun, the Moon, Venus, and Jupiter for the fourth brightest objects in the sky. So Venus will be lower, Jupiter will be up above it, then the eclipsed Sun and a comet. How much better can you get than that, right?
Wow.
Yeah, this comet, and it has, I think it's jumped like 40-fold in brightness over the last few weeks. So it could appear naked eye. We are saying binocular target for sure, but it might be even naked eye. So we're going to keep it real close eye on this one as we get closer to the date. So great shot there, David. Thanks for that.
oh.
Good.
Prediction says it's going to be a magnitude 4.8.
Oh, really? Yeah. So that's just that
Naked eye.
naked eye view then. Yeah. Now naked eye, I guess in the dark sky, but naked eye at eclipse day. hard to
Well, it's
say.
going to get dark.
For sure. Let's hope. Not hope that darkness isn't all cloud. Kathy Adams grabbed this one. She says, let me see where she at. It was too bright for the galaxy I was going to capture, but the Monkey Head Nebula wasn't not too bad. Love the full moon, but it definitely washes out everything. So this time I used the 10-second subs with the 46-minute integration, stacked with the fit files with the C-Star, and stretched and processed in Photoshop. So nice job. Yeah.
Very nice.
Monkey head, yeah, it does look like a monkey
You
head.
see the monkey head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well done. Thanks, Kathy.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. There's another one, Kathy, the Pleiades here, of course. Nice and bright with the full moon coming up in 3 days, but it was nice and clear. Can't have everything, she says. The Pleiades 58 minutes integration stacked with my C-Star, stretched and processed in Photoshop, immortal 2.5 to 3 skies.
Yes, sir.
There
Beautiful.
you go.
Well done. And one more from Kathy, this one, this monster. Now, if you're outside with eclipse glasses tomorrow, and it happens to be a sunny day, put your glasses on, take a look and see if you can find this one, because you can naked eye now. It's that big. It's huge. Sunspot 3590, it's actually crackling with X-class solar flares. It released the largest solar flare in this cycle the other day. There was actually 1, 2, 3, like a 1, 2, 3 punch there. So it was quite high. It didn't release any CME, so there's nothing that we're talking about Aurora from it, but it did cause some radio blackouts for sure. So that's the monster 3590. Big Sunspot 3590, definitely one of the biggest I've captured. She said it's the size of 10 Earths across. Celestron C5, a ZWO ASI 678 stacked in wavelets, adjusted in astrosurface. Nice job.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And here's another shot from Robert with it. Sunspot, Robert Cadet, Sunspot 3590 with Lunt hydrogen alpha scope. ZWO 174 planetary camera. Best 4% of 1,834 frames stacked in auto stackered 4, processed in IMP, PG, and Photoshop. Nice job, Rob. You get some beautiful shots.
Yeah, very nice shots.
The prominence is nice. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Filaments back at us, yeah. And this one from David Smart. Everybody's captured the sun lately, yeah. The February 25th, 2024, the sun has this big sunspot, very pretty. It used the ZWO 224 MC camera control with the ZWO ASI Air on an Ioptron mount and a 60 millimeter scolar. So nice job.
Yeah, that is a big sunspot, man.
That's huge. And there's Kathy's, Lisa Fanning's picture. Wow, she said, would you look at the sunspots today? According to spaceweather.com, sunspot AR3590 has a beta gamma delta magnetic field that harbors energy for X-class solar flares. Still does, for sure. 3590 is the big cluster just to the right of this image. So it's going to be a few more days before it rotates off. So we'll keep a close eye on that for sure. Thanks, Lisa, sorry, that one. We're going to go from there to picture from Haley Croswell. Haley used her telescope to image the Orion Nebula and the Running Man. So she's there. Her telescope teaches you about the target while you image it.
Well done.
Nice shot, Haley.
Yeah, looks
Very
good.
nice shot.
Yeah.
Good man in there. Very well done. She's getting very, very good very quickly, for sure. Very well done, Haley. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to go from there to Brad Perry's captures here. Brad sent in a couple of pictures, just sharing a couple of captures from the past week. One of the Milky Way taken at Cape Edgemont Lighthouse in PEI on Monday morning. I was there visiting family, and it required a 4 a.m. alarm and a bit of trust in the weather forecast. But this was a shot I've been wanting to try for a long time. So I was very pleased to finally get the opportunity. It's a single 13-second exposure. And I had to cover and uncover the camera lens in time with the lighthouse's flash pattern. Cool, yeah.
Oh, that's different.
To avoid overexposing it. That's a great idea. It turned out to be a little fun little challenge. So it turned out very nice. Good job.
Yes, sir. Gorgeous.
It's some amazing work. Of course, Brad was on our show just a short while ago. Shared a lot of his techniques. And here's another shot he caught. The second photo is of the full moon rising on Saturday night in Fredericton. So, excuse me, nicely done.
Yeah.
Right off the roof. That's neat.
That's cool. Good stuff.
Nice reflection.
Yeah. Mr. Powell's capture. 15.03 days old and 99.9% illuminated with a tilt of minus 62.185 degrees, 185, not a 184.
Right.
Approximate distance from the Earth to the Moon was 406,104.1 kilometers.
It's a good thing they put those mirrors up there to bounce the lasers off for NASA.
Hey, you got your measuring stick out there, didn't you?
Yeah. That's just my Canon DSLR off the back deck.
Thanks, Mike. Good shot.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and from there, I want to talk a little bit about this just for a couple of moments. We've got a new contest coming up. It's going to start March the 1st. We're going to have two categories. There's going to be from a 6 to 12-year-old and then 12-year-old and up category. And what I want is that I want you to draw a picture of what you think the eclipse might look like. None of the kids today have seen an eclipse, I would say. I saw one in 1972, just a partial one, but want to be able to see what you think it's going to look like to you. So how's the sky going to look and what's going to be happening with the animals and what's going to be happening around. So have a parent take a picture of your drawing. I want you to do a drawing up. Have a parent take a picture of it, send it into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. There'll be 2 separate sets of prizes for 6 to 12-year-olds and then from 12 and up. Contest is going to start on March the 1st. There's lots of prizes to be won. I'm not going to announce the prizes yet, but I've got a number of them all packed away right now, and we'll be very excited to offer these prizes coming up. So get ready for that. Also, as I get entries in, I'll be taking the number of entries each day, picking out one of the entries, and we'll use it for my cover photo on my Facebook page. So looking forward to this contest. It's going to be a lot of fun, just like the last one was. So get ready to get your entries ready. And if you have photos that you'd like to send in, we love getting them here. You can send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we would love to share them. So thanks for that. How's that?
Ta-da.
God,
Covered it all? I think so.
PBD.
Okay, well, so I guess that's pretty well our show, isn't it? I'd say. So that's our show for this evening. Well, we do hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Special thanks, of course, goes out to Rosanna once again for her fabulous fun fact segment. Thank you, Rosanna. And to all of you who share our program out there too, we had a lot of nice shares today on Facebook that people had shared the program out there for us, including Trudy, of course, who shares it, I don't know, about 100 different places. But thank you, Trudy, for all you do. And remember too, we do love getting your photos, so send them in to astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to share them on our next broadcast. And a special thanks again, of course, to everybody on Rogers and Network who's been joining us and following us right along as well. So until next week then, guys, we wishing you all of clear skies. As we like to say, open your eyes to the view of the skies and keep your scopes.
Point up.
All right, and I just got to get to our closing screen. Where's that at? That might be over here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there. Yeah.